Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. I hope you had a wonderful day. We are getting into the weekend and we have a winter storm tomorrow. Does it get any better for meteorologists? Well, if the forecast was a little bit more clear, it would. But we've got a pretty good idea. Honestly, if you joined me last night, the thinking about the rain moving in and then changing back to snow quickly, the models are starting to pick up on that. So I feel pretty good about what we said last night in terms of how this would evolve. But I'm sensing a lot of confusion around what's going on. And what I want to try to do for everybody is simplify the messaging. All right. We've got winter weather advisories, there's winter storm warnings, there's forecasts that are changing all the time. Your app is changing all the time because what it's doing is ingesting the latest information in terms of the models, and the models still don't have a handle on it. And this event happens tonight and tomorrow. Okay. So again, I'm going to take the models kind of out of it and I'm going to give you my meteorological forecast, all right, in terms of what I'm thinking. And again, it hasn't changed much since yesterday. There still are a lot of nuances with this, and it all evolves around whether our snow changes over to rain or not, because that line is right over our counties. Like, it doesn't get any trickier to forecast than right here in Northwest Indiana with this system. So there's just a lot of discrepancies in the models. You're hearing a lot of different things in forecasts, and it's just confusing. And a lot of meteorologists like to confuse, and that way they're not wrong because they just confused you, and you're the one that's confused, not them. All right. So I'll tell you how I think it plays out. We'll get into it. Okay. First and foremost, want to thank our sponsors. Let me make sure this works here. There we go. Sponsors, another show for them. They obviously keep everything for free. We've got, I'll start at the bottom, Ewing Mechanical Services, ewingmech.com. That is for everything in Northwest Indiana that is HVAC related. All right. Indoor humidifier. It's going to get bone dry around here in terms of air. Your skin's going to get dry if you're not running a humidifier. They install whole house humidifiers, which are awesome. They keep the moisture levels perfect in your house so you don't have the dry skin throughout the winter. They also deal with furnaces. A lot of furnaces going to be working overdrive here next week. And we're going to hint on the Arctic air. I'll show you some of the numbers coming in next week. So ewingmech.com is the place to go. They're family owned. They're wonderful. I talk to them very often. They're great. All right. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. They're a staple in the community. They do a lot of community work as well, extra and top of selling great cars at great prices. Four-wheel drive vehicles are on the lot, ready to go. A lot of Jeeps on there as well. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. St. Jude House is our nonprofit. They do work around domestic violence, which is not a pretty topic at all. However, 1 in 7 women, or 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men are dealing with some form or have dealt with some form of domestic violence. It can be, all sorts of things, financial, verbal, all that stuff as well. So if you or a coworker, whoever it is going through something like that, please reach out to stjudehouse.org. They will come meet whoever needs help wherever you need help, and they'll find out what you need. They don't tell you what they need. They find out what you need. They do great work in the community. Again, all nonprofit, stjudehouse.org. PSA, those are our public service adjusters. They're licensed, insured. They're local men and women in Northwest Indiana that do amazing work around insurance claims. So let's say a pipe bursts in your house, you have water damage. Normally you'd call your insurance company and take them 2 weeks to come out. Once they come out, they say, we'll give you $50, whatever it happens to be. Don't do that. If you have a burst pipe in your house, call them first or go to the website, publicserviceadjusting.com. They will come in, take pictures, take care of it. They'll deal with your insurance company and get you all the money you deserve for that. They have 5-star reviews across the board. Everyone's like, it's the little known secret I didn't know about, right? Publicserviceadjusting.com. And finally, last but not least, Tiger Plumbing, our favorite plumbers here in Northwest Indiana. They're just awesome. They're just awesome. All right. They come out for free. You can schedule appointments online now if you have any problems whatsoever. And just a word of advice from them. With the cold air coming next week, I know we do a lot to protect our pipes and keep the faucets dripping, stuff like that. Make sure your outdoor water spigot, make sure the water that goes to your outdoor water spigot is off. All right. So you're going to turn that valve off. That goes to the outside. You want to drain it as well, because that can cause all sorts of problems. That's some word of advice from Tiger Plumbing. It's tigerplumbing.net is the place to go for that. Okay. All right. I want to say hi to the early birds here tonight. Again, special broadcasts. We usually do these just on Sunday nights, just to get everyone ahead for the work week. We focus on storm systems. In the last couple of weeks, we've dealt with looking at what we're dealing with tonight. We've highlighted the potential for these storms over 15 days ago as we saw them in the modeling. And now we're here. So we're in the active weather. So special broadcast tonight. I do appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to join me. I won't waste it. I want to get right to it here. I do have to get through my sponsors, though, so I appreciate you waiting with that. But again, great people, great businesses. All right, Linda's with us. Jan's with us on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Jan. Linda says, can't wait to hear this forecast. Shayna's with us as well. Christina, Jill, Claudia. Larry says, no snow. Brent says, what do you know? Well, we'll share what we know. Russ, thanks for joining us as well. Christy, thank you for the support. That's so sweet of you. Sean's with us. Maxwell, Brandy says, will it be snow or just rain? Let's dive in. Good start, Brandy. Will it be snow or just rain? All right, let's dive in. This is our system in the Southern Plains right now. I always like to start big picture so we know kind of meteorologically what's coming at us, all right? And this is it. There's an area of energy that went through the Four Corners region. It's heading into Texas now. There's not much on radar right now down towards areas of Texarkana, Oklahoma, but that's all about to change. This is going to be very much like the last system we had 2-3 days ago, in that everything kind of explodes tonight as it taps into Gulf of Mexico moisture. There's going to be a rapid intensification on radar of rain and heavy snow with this. That will form a deep area of low pressure as the cold air battles the warm air, and that will travel up our way, that low pressure will. There's going to be severe weather tonight, areas of the deep south as well, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That will all roll east. You probably saw the national coverage around the tornadoes that they had with the last system, areas of Georgia, Florida, South Carolina as well. They're all going to be under the gun in terms of severe weather again with this system as well. So that's what they're dealing with. For us, we deal with a low pressure that goes right through Northwest Indiana. And I have a really good idea, or a good, I guess, analysis of why the models are having so much trouble. And I think they've solved it with this evening's model runs, not this afternoon, but this evening's. All right. So here we go. We've got two waves, and the National Weather Service in Chicago has done a nice job in terms of kind of describing when the hits are. All right. We talked about this last night. I thought we had good messaging on it as well. And I just want to kind of reiterate it. But we've got two waves of impactful weather around here, okay? So I know everyone wants to know, how much snow are we going to get, all right? I know that matters, and I know numbers matter, but let's talk what's going to actually impact your life first, okay? So tomorrow morning, there's going to be an impactful snow that's going to breeze through here, all right? So morning rush hour, just remember that, is going to be a little tricky tomorrow morning. How tricky it gets depends on how much of this initial push of moisture comes in. So that's the tricky part of the forecasting, first of all. But tomorrow morning, we're expecting things to start as snow briefly, and then we'll head over to rain, and then we go back to snow. And I really think the biggest trouble spot for us here locally is going to be once we change back over to snow. We talked about this last night in full, all right? And the fact that we're going to have rain. Cold air is going to rush into the system. We're going to change things over to snow. I think tomorrow, later in the afternoon on into the evening, is when it gets particularly tricky for us here in the region. All right. I'm not overly concerned about the morning. We'll have some snow around. I'm not too confident how long it lasts, but I really think the main focus is going to be that second wave that comes in after our rain changes over to snow. And yes, I still think we're going to turn over to rain. All right. So here's the modeling. This is the latest HER. So I'm going to point out two things here. Here's the initial push of moisture. Both the HER and the NAM NEST, which are two of the high res that I kind of trust the most, they have the initial push, like a lot of the moisture part of this, just west of us. So that doesn't bring us a ton of snow. We still have heavy snow where this is falling, where this initial push of moisture comes in. All right. We had this with the last storm system, and it kind of broke up over the region. We didn't see a real nasty morning rush hour. It was slick. We had a couple inches, but it wasn't a huge deal. Right. So I don't think this is going to be a big deal either. But look how the snow pushes in. This is now 5-6 o'clock in the morning. We have heavy snow, not for everyone, and most of it's west, but still we have it around. All right. So this is going to lay down a coating to maybe a couple inches in the morning for that rush hour. All right. So as we go through time, here is why I think the models have had a tough deal with this. They've been dealing with this parent low, which is the actual center of the low pressure. All the models have been trying to figure out where that goes. And most of the models take it up through either the region or Chicago. But now the models have kind of deciphered that it's not just this low that we're going to be dealing with. There's a secondary low that develops. Look how elongated this is. This isn't a tight little compact low where everything's perfectly symmetrical around it. It's this elongated low that kind of looks like a kidney bean. And because of that, that causes problems because it's not a symmetrical system. It's messy. And so watch what happens. Here's your main low in areas of central Illinois, and watch how it just kind of transfers itself over to Indianapolis all of a sudden. So we see kind of a transfer of power in terms of where the center of the storm system is. And I agree with that. And the reason why, that is what I was talking about yesterday in terms of this Arctic air starting to get pulled in. It's heavy and dense. I think that Arctic air comes in and literally transfers where that low is as it kind of starts shoving it out towards the east. And so as we go through time, there's your morning snow. I still think we change over to rain, and I think we do it across 90% of Northwest Indiana tomorrow. So by late morning into midday hours, I think we're starting transition to just kind of a gloppy, messy rain. Temperatures are still going to be on the cold side, but I think we'll have rain, and it'll probably be mixing with big old fat wet snowflakes every now and then. But I think most of it's going to be rain. All right. I still believe that tomorrow. And I'll show you a lot of models that don't. So that's tough for me to say, but that's just kind of how this winter's gone so far. I do see the system bringing up warmer air from the south, a little bit warmer than what the models are saying. That's just my opinion. Okay. So as we go through time tomorrow, again, morning snow could be briefly heavy, but then we'll transition to some gloppy, gross rain. Okay. After that, this is when we see this kind of transfer of power, this low pressure as it goes from Illinois into Indiana. Okay. And as that happens, that's when the cold air is coming in. So this is the afternoon, and I agree with this as well. I don't know if it happens this fast, but this is the time frame. We talked about it last night that I think is going to be the most problematic, because we're going to go from gloppy rain to all of a sudden we've got big old wet snowflakes coming down, and we've turned all snow fast. Okay. I still think that's going to happen tomorrow afternoon. Time frame on it, I mean, I would say anytime after 2. It could be more towards 4 or 5 o'clock. We're talking literally a degree of forecasting in terms of temperature at every level of the atmosphere. And if we're off by a degree, it's going to change everything. All right. That's how fine of a line this is in terms of this forecast with rain or snow. I mean, it really is that tricky here in Northwest Indiana. So it's going to be more of a nowcast, right? We're watching the radar. We're seeing where the rain's changing over. We see when it's changing over. But I do think in the afternoon, we change that rain back over to snow. And that's when I think things really start to go downhill. Okay. It's not going to be a blockbuster system. This isn't storm of the century. This isn't blizzard of the century, but it's going to get real tricky tomorrow afternoon and evening. Okay. So you'll probably want to get to where you want to be tomorrow. Let's say you have work plans tomorrow. You are going to work. It's a Friday. If you can leave midday or somewhere around there, that might be a good idea. That evening commute, I don't think is going to be too great for a lot of folks, okay, as we will be transitioning over to snow. Once we transition back to snow, there's no precip question type whatsoever. We'll be all snow once it gets back to snow, okay? So by tomorrow, late afternoon into the evening, I think we're all snow. We're going to stay there. That's when the low pressure kind of transfers out towards the east. That all of a sudden puts us in the sweet spot for the system. And I think that's when the snow is really going to start to pile up around here. Okay. Tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. Eventually by tomorrow night, I mean, look at this low. We'll have howling winds around this. The wind initially coming in is going to be strong as well. You can see I'm trying to point to like I'm on the green screen. I keep forgetting I'm at home. But you notice how initially all these isobars, they're tightly packed. We'll have some strong winds in the morning with that snow. And then as the low comes over us, I don't want to get all sorts of private messages saying, what system? The system's nothing. It's, this is terrible. It's barely even windy outside. It's not going to be very windy outside tomorrow, midday and afternoon. Okay. Because the low's right over us. It's like the eye of the hurricane. Okay. There's not a lot of pressure gradient when you have the low over you. Everything's rushing into that. So the wind is probably going to go light midday through early afternoon tomorrow. But by evening, once that cold air gets here, the wind will start to ramp up exponentially. And by tomorrow night, our wind is howling again. Okay. We're talking 35, 45 mile per hour winds. We'll have blowing and drifting snow. In terms of snowfall type, a lot of you have asked some really good questions around that. Snowfall type is highly dependent on temperature. All right. And the closer the temperature is to freezing, you tend to get more moisture content, and you tend to get the heavy wet snow. All right. So what we'll do tomorrow is we'll have a heavy wet snow. Once it changes back over to snow, it'll be heavy and wet. And then as we get later into the evening, into the overnight, that heavy wet snow is going to transition to more of a lighter, fluffier snow that can be blown around. All right. So blowing and drifting, not much of a problem early. But as we get later into the evening, into the overnight Friday, and then especially Saturday morning, we're talking about a fluffy snow with blowing snow around. Okay. So that's that. And then as we get into Saturday morning, if you have travel plans, remember there will be snow laid down pretty much all across the Great Lakes. Heaviest as you get into central Illinois, northern Illinois, Wisconsin. That's where the bullseye is going to be with the system. But we'll have pretty good snow from here to South Bend as well. And then in terms of the weekend, this low pressure continues to rotate towards our north. Look at the strong northwest flow. Typically, we would get lake effect snow with a northwest flow, but the problem with this system is it's pulling away. So it's taking our northwest flow and kind of skewing it up into Michigan, if that makes sense, because it's pulling at it. It's not a system that comes down from Canada and just lays down northwest flow behind it. So I don't see much of a lake effect event for us Saturday. I think we'll have lingering snow showers. It'll be windy, it'll be cold, but I don't see big accumulations on Saturday, at least locally. If you get up into Michigan, they're going to get nailed with lake effect, not just Saturday, but it's going to be so persistent Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even all the way to next Friday. They'll be having lake effect in areas of Michigan. And I could see anywhere from 30 to 40 inches of snow up there gradually, but it's going to be a mess. So if you've got travel plans 94 perhaps over the weekend or next week into Michigan, you're going to encounter some problems with that because there's going to be persistent lake effect snow bands up there. Not a lot at once, but consistent enough that it's going to add up over time. All right. LaPorte County, our friends out in LaPorte County, I do think this lake effect kind of comes back as we get little waves along this low pressure as it continues, like little troughs that swing in. So I do think that you get some lake effect snow in LaPorte County as we get it into Sunday. And then next week, we could see some higher amounts, especially up towards Michigan City, Berrien County, and Michigan, South Bend. We'll see some as well. Not crazy totals, but you will see some lake effect from this. Lake and Porter counties, I don't see a lot of lake effect at all from any of this once we get beyond this, okay? So that's what I've got there. Let me show you snowfall total. Let me show you one more model first. This is a NAM-NES. It's pretty similar in terms of what it's thinking. There's your low pressure. Notice how the NAM-NES has no snow tomorrow morning waking up. All right. I could see that happening too. If the bulk of the moisture pushes west, we could wake up and not have much tomorrow morning. That's why I'm not as concerned tomorrow morning with the snow as I am in the evening. I think that evening is a slam dunk in terms of getting messy around here. So that has the system coming up. A little bit of snow at the beginning. It does have us changing over to rain. I like that. And then notice how we're rain and then all of a sudden, boom, we're all snow. There's your transfer of energy with this low pressure to this one. So that's allowing the cold air to gush in. And this is tomorrow afternoon into the evening. It's all snow, moderate to heavy at times. It's just going to be consistent snow as we get into the evening and turning colder and windy as well. And the NAM-NES keeps us just snowy pretty much all weekend, just snowflakes in the air flying. All right. Heaviest up towards Michigan. So that's that. All right. Let's talk totals. Both models are high res and both are pretty similar in this. Here's your initial hit tomorrow morning. The NAM-NES doesn't have much at all, as I mentioned. Just getting nailed. They're just getting drilled. Rockford back towards Davenport, Cedar Rapids, just getting the brunt of the snow. And then eventually it swings in here. And you notice how we do fill things in. I think this is the reason why the Weather Service has gone with winter weather advisories for everyone but LaPorte County, because there's this snow hole. I know a lot of you say there's a snow hole over Indiana every winter, and I'm telling you, the maps are proving it. There's a snow hole over Indiana, Northwest Indiana, where we don't get a whole lot of snow. I mean, this is anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, so it's not bad, but it's not a ton. And then you get more snow east, more snow north, okay? If you're a snow lover, you could be in central Illinois where they barely get anything. And just to the north, they're having 15 inches. So there are worse transitions than what we're dealing with, okay? Most of our snow, though, I think falls Friday afternoon and then especially Friday evening, Friday night, okay? That's where we're at there. Let me show you the HER real quick, the HER model. Pretty similar in the thinking, except for it's a little bit snowier on the onset. There's your initial snow. You notice how some of us don't get much tomorrow morning. Some of us, especially favoring western counties like Lake County, get a little bit more. So you have the highest chance for snow tomorrow morning. And then it has it filling in pretty quickly. This is Friday into Saturday. The HER it's been higher on the totals. It's saying anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches locally. Okay. And I tend to like the 4 to 8 inch forecast. I mentioned 4 to 8 yesterday. I kind of like it today. highest chance for snow is going to be our northern counties. Lowest chance for big snow is going to be our southern counties. So Newton, Jasper, Stark counties. Okay. So if you're in Lakeport or LaPorte counties, I would probably say a good 4 to 8. And most of that's going to happen tomorrow later in the day. All right. Southern counties, a little bit less, 2 to 5, somewhere in there. We'll see how it evolves. A couple things I want to show you here. And I want to talk cold. And I also want to show you global models because they throw a wrench in this whole entire thing. I love this last winter. We use this a lot. This is a winter storm severity index. So we can talk about how much snow is going to fall. Big thing is the impact. All right. How does it impact you in your daily life? Is it impactful or is it not? Right. There's different kinds of snows. And notice how they pick up pretty nicely on the fact that Northwest Indiana doesn't take the brunt of the storm. If you have travel plans across the Great Lakes, the red areas are where you're expecting major impacts. We'll probably have blizzard conditions in areas in red. Orange is where we're expecting moderate impacts, so pretty decent disruption. And then, their winter storm severity index has most of Northwest Indiana under minor. So minor to moderate impacts. I would 100% agree with that. I think that's kind of how this is going to go. It's going to be a very doable storm system. But again, late tomorrow into tomorrow night is my period of concern where I think we're going to get messy around here. And I don't want you to be out when it changes over like that. All right. You shouldn't have to deal with that. All right. Final thing I want to show you here, and then we'll answer some questions. We'll get you on your way tonight, as always. I want to show you global models and what they're thinking. They're not quite as high res, but I tend to trust them a lot. And then we're going to talk temperatures. We'll go right to the wind chills. We'll talk about how cold we're expecting things to get over the course of the weekend. But this is Friday. All right, here's your euro. And notice how the euro keeps us all snow the whole time. That does not help. All right, that does not help my forecast confidence. But it keeps us all snow the whole time. And I was like, well, okay, well, maybe that's just a one-off. Has the GFS changed its mind and brought in that rain? So here's the GFS. GFS keeps us all snow the entire time. So there's that. Hey, Wyatt, can we not play with those blocks right now? I think it's bedtime right now, isn't it, pal?
But now we're not going to bed now.
You're not going to bed quite yet? Okay, just keep it down back there. Once again, we have the children loose in the house, so there's that. I don't have a door on my office. This reminds me of the first days of COVID, that guy who had the child that came in. The wife comes in and grabs him. It's good times. Anyway, the GFS keeps us all snow the entire time as well. So in terms of snowfall, I'm just going to show this to you. I don't agree with these forecasts, but it's really hard for me not to agree with the global models, at least to some degree. The GFS, just for reference, and this is certainly possible, okay? I'm just forecasting. It doesn't mean I'm right. The models are just forecasting. It doesn't mean they're right, but it also doesn't mean they're wrong, all right? This is the guidance that we're getting. The GFS, if you love snow, you will love the GFS. It's got anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in our northern counties. It's got anywhere from about 4 to 8 in our southern counties, going down to 1 right as you get further south. So the GFS still hanging on to that snow, and then the Euro's still hanging on to the snow as well. Right over Northwest Indiana, there you go. It's got a little bit less, but it's got a general 5 to 10 across our counties, with 3 to 6 in our southern counties. So there is going to be that transition between southern counties and northern counties where we get more snow north, less snow south. You'd expect that with a winter storm typically. And the other thing is there's going to be a sharp cutoff where there's not a lot of snow at all just south of that. Okay. So those are those two things. Let me quickly show you temperatures. I'll stick with the euro because I like it. The Arctic air, the real true Arctic air, doesn't hit right away. We get colder air, but we don't get that true Arctic air until we get onto the daytime Saturday, okay? So let's go straight to the wind chill values because this is what matters. So this is Friday, okay, Friday afternoon. And let me actually, I'm wondering if I can get in a little closer. I'm going to keep it at this so you can see what's happening in the Midwest. Here comes our Arctic air, storm systems grabbing it, pulling it in. And notice how it feels like the 20s Friday afternoon. That's doable, right? By Friday night, the cold air starts to get in. Notice how it's just wrapping in. It's crazy. So we feel more like the teens Friday night. And then Saturday, that's when the cold starts to set in. Feels more like single digits much of the day. And then check out Saturday night. That's when the real cold hits. We'll have wind chill values -10 to -15 Saturday night. And then we're in it. We're just in it. By Sunday, wind chills are down to -20, -25 at times. We're still going to have that wind around. And then this is Sunday afternoon, Sunday night now. Now we're into Monday. And we've got wind chill values waking up Monday morning around -30. Okay, yes, -30, and it's widespread. So I know it's MLK Day on Monday, so that's good news. Kids don't have school, right? But by Tuesday, this cold air is going to linger. It's going to the core of this cold air is Monday into Tuesday, and so because of that, I think Tuesday is going to be one of those days that we may have. I know they don't have no school anymore. They have e-learning, which is a total bummer. I mean, good for kids to learn, but give them a snow day. But Tuesday we may have no school just due to the cold. Okay, not due to a lot of snow. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with in terms of this storm system in general. As we go through time, we'll continue to watch this evolve tomorrow. All right, it's going to be a nowcast situation. I will be with you we'll post on our Facebook page and talk about it as it's ongoing. But two things to watch is that morning rush hour. What do we get tonight in terms of snow pushing in initially? How quickly does it turn over to rain tomorrow? That's going to be a big question. And then when do we turn back to snow? At what time? Because the earlier we do so, the more snow we'll get. And again, things are going to get real tricky around here tomorrow, late afternoon into the evening. Okay? All right. So that's what we've got. Let me answer your questions for you real quick. And then I'm going to go to bed because I've got a morning show tomorrow. A lot of people think the morning show, because we start at 4 a.m., they think that we get there at 4 a.m., and that's not the case. We have to do a lot of pre-work, so we're in by 2:30. How does that sound for everybody, for morning show folks? It's just a different world. I've done evenings my whole life. All right, so here we go. Kathy says I have to report to work 8 to 12 tomorrow, but have a 50-minute travel home. Yeah, that's going to be pushing it, Kathy. You should be okay. I think by noon, we should be mainly rain. It just depends. I mean, I could see worst case scenario, Kathy, that we stay mainly snow, that I'm wrong on it and we have snow all day and then it's tricky. My gut says you'd be okay with that, but we need to keep a close eye on that radar tomorrow, just in case. The thing that's for sure is that we're going to have moisture over us. Okay. So it's going to be raining or snowing. There's not going to be a lot of holes with this one. Okay. Where there's quiet time. It's going to be going pretty consistently. So, I'm just hoping, and there's a lot of situations like that. I know I'm hoping that we change over to rain like I'm forecasting. All right. Because if the Euro and the GFS are right and we stay snow all day, it's going to be a mess. If you have the option to stay home tomorrow, that would be best. But I know a lot of you don't have that option. So there's that. Okay. Max will ask a question. Is there any chance of thunder snow? Maxwell, I think there is, but I don't think it would be here. I think areas of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin would have a good chance of that. There's real good venting with this storm system. There's really good lift there as well. But there is a chance for us locally. So, I don't want to say there's not a chance, but I think the best chance would be in that neck of the woods. Okay. Yeah, good question. Becky asks, with kids going in 8 to 3 o'clock, boy, I mean, that's just tricky, Becky. Listen, the roads aren't going to be impassable. It's just going to get tricky. And if you are a good winter weather driver, you'll be able to handle it. You'll just have to go slow. All right. And it's going to be coming down pretty good. All right. The 3 o'clock time frame, I'm not sure if we get that changeover by then. I kind of feel like it'll start to change over sometime in the 2 to 4 o'clock window, but I'm not confident in saying that. And I will give you full transparency, my confidence. I'm not confident what time it changes over tomorrow. All right. I'm already having problems saying it's going to change over to rain when the models are saying it's still going to be snow. All right. But I feel like it's going to change over to rain for a lot of us, and then it'll change back. So Brandy, I'm not sure about school closings tomorrow. Steve, that's awesome. Steve says, my good buddy Steve says, can you write me a note to get me out of my Friday and Saturday events? Steve, I can. It's a pink slip if that's okay. So yeah, I'd be happy to do that for you. Kathy, I don't know if colleges will close. I mean, here's the thing. It's not a blockbuster storm for us locally. If we were getting what Wisconsin and Northern Illinois are getting, with 12 to 16 inches of snow, if it were snow the whole time, yes, I could see everything closing. But tomorrow, I mean, we're dealing with a heavy snow tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then tomorrow night. But it's not like what they're getting up there. I mean, I'm forecasting 4 to 8 for us in our northern counties. I mean, that's a doable thing. It really is. It's just going to get messy. So I don't think big things are going to close, like colleges and stuff like that. They may have early dismissal in some of the schools tomorrow, just to get ahead of it. But it really is a very tricky system. It's not the storm of the century. I just want to make that close point here. Jonathan asks a great question. Any chance this could be a snow or a snowstorm warning? Well, it would be a winter storm warning, Jonathan, in Porter County. I could see if for some reason tomorrow, if some of the models are right, and if we don't change over to rain and it's snowing and the weather service observes that and they say, we're all snow in Northwest Indiana. We haven't changed over to rain. That's going to significantly add to our snowfall totals. That puts us in the 6 to 12 range if we don't get the rain. The rain is what cuts it down, right? Every hour you have rain is an hour you're not getting snow. And so you're taking your 12-inch total or 12-inch possibility and you're chipping away at it, right? So I could see that happening if for some reason we don't change over, okay? Kathy asks, do you still think there will be an eye to the storm? I do. I think the wind kind of goes light tomorrow, early afternoon and midday, because that low will be right over us. So, we'll have precip falling, but it's not going to be too windy. So there's that. Great question there. Donna asks a good question as well. When do we get back into decent temps? By decent, I think you would mean manageable, right? Like not minus 20. There's indication by like January 25th, sometime around there, that we start to bounce out of this again. I don't know for how long, but this blast of cold air lasts for a while. I mean, we're going to stay below freezing. And think about this in terms of your pipes in your house, anything house related that doesn't like cold. We're going to go below freezing and way below freezing for a while, like at least all the way through next Thursday and Friday as it looks right now. So just keep that in mind. All right. It's going to get cold around here. Jamie says, love all the teachers watching. Yeah. So just the teachers, guys, just a quick side note. And I've said this before, school is canceled based on your superintendent. All right. When does your superintendent wake up? Your superintendent usually wakes up on a snowy morning around 4 o'clock. All right. Because they've got to check, notify the school, call Steve Zana at the radio station. They've got to do all sorts of stuff out ahead of that. So they usually get up around 4:30. Okay. So out the door tomorrow morning at 4:30, we're likely to have some snow, but there's not going to be a lot on the ground. So, you need a real good heavy snow where your superintendent, at least at your superintendent's house, where they can't see out the door in the morning. That's typically what shuts down schools. I know a lot of them will plan ahead with the forecast and all this, and this is too tricky. If I were a superintendent, though, I would probably just not take the risk tomorrow. The way the winter's gone, it's been so mild so far. Just give the kids a snow day. It's a Friday. It gives them an extra long weekend. And I'm a proponent of my kids going to school every day. All right. If they've got, well, I don't want to say that. I was going to say if they have stomach flu, we're sending them out the door anyway. It's not the case. We don't infect the other kids. But that being said, I think tomorrow's just too risky school-wise, because let's say we don't change over to rain for some reason. Then it's snowing all day, and it just is getting messier by the hour. Even with us changing over to rain, I'm forecasting that changeover back to snow and wind in the afternoon. So, things are getting messy for the buses. So there's that. Yeah, a lot of teachers. I'm seeing that on there. Jeff asks, any more storms after this? Jeff, no, we actually get some quiet weather because we'll be dealing with an Arctic air mass. Remember, Arctic air masses don't have a lot of moisture. The colder the air is, the less moisture it holds. All right. That's why this system has so much moisture, because it's tapping into humidity out of the Gulf. There's lots of warm air throwing moisture into this. And these are the best storms you get because you have Arctic air and Gulf of Mexico moisture in one. So there's not going to be a lot of moisture around. It'll be a lake effect story next week. There's one storm system that will slide by to the south that may spin up the East Coast. And then the next one that I'm watching is about a week from today. There's a storm system that's coming in. The models kind of diverge on it, as you'd expect, but it has a pretty good strip of snow here next week, but we'll see. It's way too early to call. I'm not even going to talk about it yet. So that's that. Okay. Yeah. So Stephen starts at 4 a.m. I feel you, Stephen. Yeah. Just so Stephen, for you on the radar in the morning when you wake up, hopefully you have a good radar app. What I would do is just check where that initial band is, where that initial snow is. If it's west of us, you'll be fine for a little while. But if it's pushing in from the south, we're going to get some pretty good snow tomorrow morning as that's moving in. Okay. So morning rush hour is kind of in limbo right now. It doesn't look terrible, but it depends on how it moves in. It's, again, the afternoon and the evening that I'm concerned with. That's where I think it gets messy. Okay. So there's that. Tori says, you're the best with the forecasts. We're in the pinch district in DeMont. Oh, I appreciate that, Tony. For sure. Yeah, it gets real tricky. I think you'll have lesser amounts of snow down there. I do think DeMont changes over to rain. But still, I think your Friday afternoon and evening, once it turns all snow, we're all snow. And I think it's going to get messy. So that's that. Kathy asks, good question. Do you have any suggestions on good weather apps? A lot of people have asked me to make an app. No, it's way too much work. And again, I started by doing this for fun. Someone just pointed out Region Weather turned 9 years old a couple days ago, which I didn't realize that. So we're 9 years old. I thought we were older than that, but anyway, that's really cool. So in terms of weather apps, Kathy, I use kind of meteorological ones that you don't need all that information. Radar Scope is a traditional one that I use that has really good radar. You have to pay for it though. And then another one's Radar Omega. That's a newer Radar Scope kind of product. That one you have to pay for too. I hate to say it, but some of the local TV, yeah, Adrian's saying WGN's her favorite one. They do have a good app. There's, like AccuWeather's not bad. The Weather Channel app actually is pretty good. You just want to have something with a good radar on it. That's all you really need. The forecasts on those, just so you guys know, all the forecasts on your apps, most of them, I'll say 99% of them, there's not someone typing in weather forecasts. Okay. The reason why your AccuWeather forecast has changed 8 times today in terms of how much snow we're going to get is because it's all computer ingested. Okay. New model comes out. It takes whatever that information is, puts a range on it, throws it in your app. So you can't yell at anybody. All right. It's a computer doing it. So that's why your apps are changing all the time. All right. And that's why I will continue to say that in person, you and me, forecasting is still important. Okay, because it's not just a computer. Computers are accurate. These models can be accurate, but they can also be off, and there's no explanation as to why. And so that's why we do Region Weather Lives on Sunday, because I like to tell you for the week ahead what your app's saying and what is probably going to change on your app as we go throughout the week. Okay, so there's that. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's all I got for you guys. Let's see. Oh, Kathy says WeatherBug. WeatherBug's okay. Radar X Russ uses. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm not too familiar with Radar X Russ, but I'm sure it's fine, especially if you use it in your line of business. You need it. Let me answer this real quick. Phoebe says, hello. How's Sunday from Maryville to Lafayette? I'm worried about 465 being slick in spots. Phoebe should be fine. Yeah, Sunday it's just going to be cold, and I'm not going to knock INDOT. They do wonderful work, but sometimes sometimes they don't get like the sides, if that makes sense, and it turns to ice, like solid ice. All the snow will be out of here by then. That's the good news. It'll be a lake effect thing, but whatever's left over with ice, I'm a little worried about any of the rain that we do get freezing on into the weekend. So if it's salted, Phoebe, we'll be fine. We're not going to be adding anything new to that. Okay. So hopefully they do a good job. All right. So there's that. All right. Tom, for this is a comment today. Come back to Lakeshore. Oh, Tom, I miss you, buddy. I really do, man. Those are some good times. I know you're still rocking and rolling there. So I'm proud of you, buddy. All right. Let's see. I saw another question. Matthew says, so Midway Airport tomorrow night will be a mess. Yes, Matthew, I do think Midway is going to be a mess tomorrow night. Not necessarily volume of snow. Same for here in the region. Not necessarily volume, but it's the combination of the wind, the falling temperatures, and the snow that's around is going to cause problems. Okay, so there's that. All right, guys, we'll let you go, and I think you're going to let me go to bed. So that's good. We'll be with you tomorrow. So plan on more frequent updates tomorrow. I've thought about doing region weather on X or Twitter or whatever you call it, because that's the best for live updates with things. But I don't want to. I don't like that platform very much. And I know Facebook's kind of old school, but it gets the message out. So when you're on our page tomorrow, just make sure you hit refresh. That way you're getting the latest posts, okay? Because I will be posting during the storm kind of what's happening. We may do a live tomorrow as well. It'll be Friday, so I'll be in a really good mood. So there's that. And as always, we're on the radio side of things. Tomorrow morning, you can catch our forecasts on the radio, and also regionweather.com. We've got our forecasts there as well, okay? All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. We'll get through it. All right. We'll do it together. No big deal, right? It's just January. Okay. We'll see what happens. See ya.